Thank you so much, Mitchell, for joining us today at the Dwelling Show. I'm so excited to just learn more about you. I basically saw your profile on Bigger Podcast, and I was just like, we have to bring you on the show and kind of learn more about you. So I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can. And just tell us, the Dwell listeners, about you, what you do, and kind of what you've been up to.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. This is my first podcast, so it's pretty cool to be on one of these. I graduated from college in 2015, so just got out. I was one of those guys that just was on a mission in college and put my head down and got done in 3 years. And so after that, I started working for a custom home builder, and it was my uncle out in Horseshoe Bay and nearby town, and just working on some high-end custom homes, and got to see a lot of construction firsthand. So that was a great experience. Saw a handful of projects from start to finish, so that was really helpful. And I've always my whole family is self-employed. My parents are self-employed, both my mom and dad, and I guess it's always been in my blood. So the going to work for someone right after school was a necessary thing to do, just to get that experience. And after that, I just knew I wanted to do something on my own, and I didn't know quite then that it was real estate, but I kind of fell into it.
Wow. Awesome. So you basically, when you came out of college, you had this kind of real life practical experience with this custom home builder. So would you say that kind of being out there, from kind of start to finish building homes, was that a big help for you now that you're kind of, basically doing real estate full time? Did that experience really help you now that you're flipping?
Absolutely. When I started, I had some prior experience during college. I would work on construction sites and more so in the office for big commercial projects. And when I started with the custom homes, I was basically just given the entire project to manage, under my uncle's supervision, of course. And so there wasn't any learning, period or anything like that. It was just jump in and do it. So it's been helpful, just knowing what it takes to build a home from start to finish, from the planning stages to to completion. So it's been helpful. My degree was in construction science and management, so that was right up my alley, and it's kind of been in my blood. So.
Oh, wow. So I did not know that. So your degree was actually in construction, as you mentioned.
It was. So my grandfather was a builder. My uncle was a builder. My dad took a little different path, and he did real estate early on, and he kind of switched into, he owns a collision repair shop here in Texas. And so I've been around it and decided that it was a practical degree to pursue. So I enjoy it. It's definitely cool to have that hands-on experience, and
Awesome. Okay. That's really good, because then you didn't have to go through, the different RIAs and having to try to learn the different complexities that comes with flipping, right? So,
you learn a lot on your first flip. When it's your own project and your own money, there's no experience or no books you can read that replaces that experience of doing it on your own. So
wow. So definitely I cannot wait. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I cannot wait to learn about this flip, this 36 grand profit flip. So we're going to get to that. I just kind of want to rewind back, kind of after you finished, or maybe let's say when you were kind of working with, in this construction company, what made that decision inside of you to say, what, I think I might go out there and kind of see what I can do on my own? What was that decision like for you?
Well, it was a difficult decision to make because I was working for my uncle at the time, and he knew going into it that I wasn't going to be there forever, and at the same time, it's still hard to let him know that you're ready to make the move, and I guess that it was a tough thing to do, leaving a good paying job and just jumping into it, and had a little bit in savings, and it wasn't easy.
I can imagine. I can totally imagine. So you have this, let's say industry knowledge, right, of spec homes, right? But now you're going into real estate investing, which is similar, in the technical way, but also there's a lot that comes with investing. There's a lot of, I guess, emotional side that could come into play, right? Now you actually, like you said, you're putting your own capital into play, right? And you have to deal with the different stakeholders, the GC if you had one, and the different subcontractors, right? So a lot of things could go wrong in a flip, but you made that decision to flip a home. So what was that decision like for you? Why flip? Why not, say rent and own, or maybe just do multifamily? Why flipping as a strategy?
Because it seemed like the easiest thing to do to start off. It made sense to me. Starting my business, I needed to create some income immediately, because I didn't have time to sit there and wait for a rental to pay me 100 or 300 a month and cash flow. That just wasn't going to work. So I had to go for the bigger returns with a flip in order to make it. So
awesome, makes sense. So you said, I want to do this flipping thing. I could cash flow on some other properties, but I want to go in, I want to flip it at home. So tell us a little bit more about this deal. How did you find it? And, when you found it, how did you fund it?
Well, to find it, I started off listening to Bigger Pockets, and they always talked about driving for dollars. And at the time, that was what I had. I had my vehicle after college, and some money in my pocket, and I didn't want to pay an agent or drag an agent along through that whole process. I felt like the only way to I guess let me back up. So throughout college and throughout high school, I would buy and sell cars, trucks. I'd love to buy them and clean them up and repair this or that, and
nice,
and sell them. And so I knew that market inside and out. I could see a truck on Craigslist and know the value of it right away, and I knew whether or not I could make money on it. So going into flipping a home, I had to gain that level of comfort with the value of homes and what I could resell for. So that spurred me to just start driving around, start figuring out which neighborhood I was going to invest in. And I carried a notepad with me and wrote down all the phone numbers of all the for sale by owners and all the listed properties. And I spent about 3 months just driving around, talking to people, and just in order to get a comfort level for home values. So anyways, long-winded, but so I ended up finding this for sale by owner. I had a sign in the yard. It looked terrible. It was definitely an eyesore on the street, and it was an out of town owner, and she lived up in Dallas. And so she had rented it out, and the previous tenants moved out, and it had been sitting vacant for at least 6 months, I think. And I ended up inspecting it, and she had her friend show it to me, and I just brought in a notepad and started writing down everything it needs, and put together a list on the computer, and wrote a big estimate. I had this estimating software that we used in college, and it was a professional formatted estimate, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to cost, but I was always on the conservative side. So if I thought it was going to be, $4,000 to do something, I would tack on an extra $500, and that estimate was part of my offer to justify such a low price. So I came up with a professional, nice letter of intent. She seemed interested, and we went from 126 down to 80, and I didn't hear back from her for 3 or 4 weeks after I said, it was over text message. After she got my original offer, I said, the lowest I can do is 80,000, and I didn't hear back for a couple of weeks, and she finally messaged me, and we
did a deal,
signed, and got it done.
Congratulations. So, I mean, you have a lot of good stuff in there. First thing you said, you mentioned and you used an adjective. You said professional letter of intent. So you said that, and then you also said you had a professional estimate that you actually put together. So that's really interesting because we hear a lot of people saying, I want to get into real estate. That we see really, really cool flip shows on HGTV. We're like, I want to go do this tomorrow. So from what I'm hearing from you, you're basically adding an extra layer of professionalism, right, in this business. Right. And do you think that helped you, especially with that deal? And do you think that still helps you today as you go out to speak to owners?
Absolutely. It's very important, especially in construction. If you don't have all of your costs dialed down, it's not going to help you make money. And B, when you're presenting your offer to someone, they can easily see, okay, this guy's taking the time to actually, measure out the linear footage of trim in the whole house, and, measure out the square footage of carpet. And so I think it definitely is an eye opener to the owner. Like, wow, my property really needs a lot of work. So that's why I did it.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's interesting. So you basically did all that, right? So you got your offer accepted, by the seller. How did you fund this deal? How did you bring money to the table, and how was that process like?
Well, naturally coming out of college, not many people have a big savings account. I certainly didn't. I had a few thousand saved up, and I didn't come into the deal with a lot of money myself. And my dad, him and I decided to start a company because he had the money to do it and didn't have the time, and I had the time to do it but no money. So it was a perfect combination, and we just went for it, and
Awesome.
had a partnership agreement, and it was all spelled out, and spent some money on hiring an attorney, and we did it right.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is more than a family like your dad have. This was like properly done upfront.
It was, and I think laying a good foundation is key for a strong business. I wasn't looking to do something for a few months and try it out. I made a commitment with him, and we're gonna do this, and so
nice. So you basically got the deal, found the deal, fund the deal, how was the flip? I mean, it looks, I've seen the pictures, you know, on Bigger Pockets. It looks amazing. It looks really, really nice. So great job on that. The finishes are awesome. But what was that process like, and how long did it take?
It was it was an interesting process, especially for the first time. There was a little bit of growing pains. So the first thing we did was just clear out the house, take out all the trash, cut all the tree limbs back just to see what we're actually working with. And I had a list of things that I knew I wanted to demo and take out. And as time went on and we started demoing, there's always more and more that you want to take out. So we wanted to save the cabinets in the kitchen. We ended up taking those out, you know, and so subsequently you've got to put back new sheetrock and, you know, new insulation and, you know, new wiring and everything. And my overinflated budget that I had set in the beginning quickly started to look more realistic. And so there was a lot of unforeseen things that went on or that we discovered. They had galvanized plumbing, so we had to take all that out and put in
PVC. Mm-hmm.
What else? It was just in the beginning I wanted to do a lot of it myself, and as the project progressed, I realized that I needed to start making the selections, and I didn't have time to make selections, go pick up the material and do all the work myself. And so I ended up subbing everything out. You know, I subbed out the plumbing, electrical, drywall, paint, and it was it was a learning experience to, you know, I don't recommend if you've never done it before, hire it out. There's no sense in sitting there beating your head against the wall because you're trying to save a few bucks. Just if you buy it right, you can afford to subcontract all of it out.
So how long did it take?
We started in October. We finished in, I think, March or April. I think it was about 5 or 6 months in total.
Plus the sale?
The sale was it was pretty immediate. So towards the end of the project, I was $20,000. I shouldn't say 20. I was 15,000 over budget, and the market started to really pick up. And I had originally, you know, estimated that I'd get around $100 a square foot for the house, and when I listed at 136 a square foot. And so the market helped me out big time.
Awesome. So let's talk numbers. What were the numbers like?
So purchase of 80,000. I put in 78 in rehab, and after commissions and closing, I ended up I sold it for 210. No, 207 and some change. That and ended up netting 36. So
wow.
In the closing, or in the process of closing, the appraisal didn't work out. I listed it for 207.5, or I think 207.2 or something, and I got an over asking cash offer for 210.
Wow.
And I ended up signing an over asking financed offer the day before for 210. And that's one piece of advice I can give you is if you can, wait 5 days until you get in all your offers before you just, I mean, who wouldn't have accepted an over asking price offer, you know, within a few days of listing it? But if if you can have that patience and foresight to wait 5 days, it would have saved, 3 weeks of closing time. So.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's, in any capacity, that's a win, right? 36K in 6 months, 5 to 6 months. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
it was, thank you. Thank you. It was a good, it was exciting to do, and it was nice to have a solid hit on your first project. So.
Awesome. So before we kind of, go to the next deal or kind of move into the future, if you were to go back again, right? I know you kind of give us some of the pointers, like don't try to do all the work yourself, just outsource it to, subcontractors. But if you were to go back to acquire that same asset, that same house, what would you do differently?
Um, I would have started looking for my next deal right after I acquired it, because I got into the rehab mode after I acquired it, and I just put my head down and I was in rehab mode, and then I was in selling mode, and then I was in you know marketing mode and or acquisition mode, looking for my next purchase.
Next deal.
So that was probably my biggest lesson learned is, be looking for your next deal.
So it's kind of like what you're saying is that opportunity cost, right? When you find it, deal, then look for the second, the third, just keep going and just basically subcontract or just outsource that work. So your main focus should be your deal flow, just constant, constant, constant.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what happened next? You got this deal, you got your 36K, you're smiling mostly to the bank. So
Yep.
What was on your mind?
So at that point, it's kind of the backstory is we bought a lot in a almost developed subdivision. So the plan was to build a spec home with a builder. So during college, one of my professors, he taught estimating, and he also happened to have his own general contracting company, does design build work. And so I contacted him after I graduated, and we had always kept in touch. And he was he was telling me about building some spec homes with different investors. And so him and I, came to an agreement that, he would build the home, and we would come up with a construction loan for it. And that's what we did. So that was in the back burner. That was going on while the flip was going on. So after the first flip, I've been trying to figure out what my strategy is going to be. I spent some time looking for some more houses to flip, and I ended up driving by a piece of property, 10 acres, and I sent the owner a letter in the mail, just off the tax rolls, and negotiated a good price for it. And my strategy there was, if I got it for a good price, I could always sell it just as is and make a few bucks. But we're currently looking at developing an RV park on there. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Awesome. So that's superb, Mitchell. So you mentioned the tax rolls. So if I were to, I'm a dual listener, I'm listening to this podcast, I'm like, wow, I really like this Mitchell guy. Is going out there, is looking for deals, is funding deals, is finding deals. How do you actually, what does the process look like from when you see a physical asset in real life to trying to find the owner? You mentioned the tax roll. Can you just kind of walk us through that process?
So I had just driven by this piece of property numerous times. It was just a vacant piece of land on a fairly busy highway, and it always caught my eye. So I looked up the address on my phone, and got the address, and ended up just going to the county website and doing a property search, and it shows the owner's name and mailing address. And I just got out a piece of notebook paper and wrote a nice letter, and asked them if they'd be interested in selling. So I got an email back, and it was maybe 2 weeks later, and we started negotiating price. And so.
Wow, nice. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? The good old fashioned letter still works, right?
Yep. Yeah. It was the first letter I'd ever written. So it was pretty crazy that it worked on the first try. But, I think it just happened the stars happened to align. And so.
Awesome. That's great. So now you're thinking of putting an RV park. How's that going, or what are your plans for that? Because that's a somewhat different strategy to flipping, right? This is mobile homes, right?
This is so travel trailers. So fifth wheel travel trailers or bumper pull travel trailers. People vacationing, just traveling through the area. And also long-term residents. I think, I'm new at this. I was looking online, and I saw that I filed for my LLC. It was 11 months ago. And
wow.
So I'm trying to figure out my strategy, and I haven't quite developed my deal pipeline. And at this point, my strategy is to create income in order to buy investment property. So this RV park is something that I'm looking at holding for quite some time, and having that produce enough income to buy further investment property, and possibly build another RV park. So.
Wow. Fantastic, Michelle. Fantastic. So you've got, you got the flip thing, to a science clearly, and now you're doing this new asset class, RV parks. It's just amazing. You've got all this stuff going on. So what does the future look like for Michelle Class? I mean, you kind of mentioned it already, right? But what does 5, 10, maybe 15 years look like for you?
5 years, I'd like to figure out what I'm doing. So I'd like to have, at least my plan down. And I've just watched, I've watched my family and other entrepreneurs, and everyone's big into having this plan, but things don't always quite line up with your plan. And so my plan 5 years from now, I'd like to have a system in place to where I'm purchasing land and hiring a general contractor to come in and develop it. And I'd like to have my entire team in place, and that way it's all I'm focusing on is the acquisitions and getting the new assets up and running, whether that's an RV park or some smaller multifamily, 4 units or 12 or 32, and just I see the future. Sorry to back up. So real estate's is a popular thing to get into nowadays. There's a lot of people investing. I think a lot of people who are older and wanting to retire are looking into real estate as a good investment. So I'm thinking that if I can provide a turnkey investments for other investors, such as a fourplex or a duplex or an RV park, I think there's a market for building and selling investment properties. So that's
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. So now we're definitely dwelling, as much as I would like to talk to you all day. we'll dwell into the quick round. So it's going to be quick questions,
Okay.
quick answers. So you definitely ready?
Let's go.
All right. Now we're going to hear from our partners real quick. So first question, what makes Mitchell Classen unique, right? What has made you successful? What's the success equation? Or what's that differentiating trait that you have, you know, from the next guy or girl?
I would say that it's the willingness and the persistence to go after bigger projects. You know, when times are tough and things aren't going your way, I just go into this mode, and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going after it with everything I've got. And if someone's you know, for instance, if the city's, you know, turning me down and doesn't want this, then I'm going to find a way to go around it, and I'm just going to make it happen.
Right. Persist until you succeed. I like it. Second question, what was the last book that you read and what did you learn from it?
Last book had to be Think and Grow Rich, and it was say my biggest takeaway from that is being intentional with your daily actions and your goals, and making sure that those daily actions are aligned with your goals.
Wow, that's powerful. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, you've got a ton of activities going on, right? You're building RV parks, you're flipping. What do you actually do to relax? What do you do to blow some steam off? What do you do for fun?
Man, I don't know if I have much fun. I guess I enjoy what I do. You know, I like to travel. I love visiting new places. Just got back from Florida with my brother a few weeks ago, and you know, I think I would say traveling and getting away from my work is the only way that I can, you know, shut it off for a little while. So
nice, awesome, that's fantastic. So, you know, if I was a dwell listener, kind of listening to you now, and I'm like, I want to learn more about Mitchell, I want to, you know, connect with him. Where can people go find you?
You can you can find me on Bigger Pockets. I've got an account there. You can reach out to me via email. Feel free to give me a shout anytime. Call me, text me, whatever. I'm sure you'll have that info available.
Absolutely. I'll have your website on the show notes, so our listeners can click on it and get through to the site. Mitchell, thank you so much. I cannot wait to kind of see how your projects are going to be unfolding in the next few months. So definitely we'll keep in touch to see how those projects kind of materialize. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you inviting me to be on here. Thank you.
Thanks.